Hey everyone, I just wanted to follow up with the video about car mold because a lot of people had left comments in my previous videos when I'd mentioned that I found mold in my car, really wanting to know what I found and how I dealt with that issue. So let's dive right in because this is an important issue that you need to know if you spend a lot of time in your car, and especially if you live or car camp, because as I found, mold can grow in your car just like it can grow in houses. So I put together this slideshow real quick to kind of show you what I found. Let's go through it. So my first indication that I may have an issue was here, these little white fuzzy spots in the door handle where you grab your car door to shut it. I saw those and I thought, that doesn't look right. That looks like that may be mold. So I started to dig a little deeper and took some things apart in my car and found that underneath where the back seat was, I found some more of these little white mold spores. So I thought, okay, now I need to really start looking and see how big this problem is. So here's another area that I found in the back of the car where the spare tire is and that storage area is in the Prius. You can see on this area where there's a little carpet strip that created a medium where mold had started to grow. And so then I really started taking the panels apart, and I found this black mold on the back side of one of the panels in the back of my car. And I'm pretty sure that what the culprit for this occurring in my car is the fact that I'd been living in my car for over a year, and I slept in my car obviously every night. And when you sleep in an enclosed space like a car, every breath that we expel as human beings has a high humidity level. There's a lot of water particles in our breath. That's one of the reasons you can see your breath on a cold day, is that mist of particles going out in the air. And when you sleep in your car, it gets really humid at night. In fact, in my next video on humidity, I'll show you where I started tracking the humidity in my car and found that it was getting up to about 100% humidity at night, close to it. And so a lot of moisture was getting condensed into my car, and that fed the growth of mold. Just so you know, mold is everywhere. Mold is in the air and all over the place. It's a natural part of our environment, but mold spores grow when water is introduced. And so that's the key element that allows mold to start growing, which is why, again, I think this is such an important issue. If you live in your car camp, or spend a lot of time in your car, especially if you sleep in your car, because when you exhale that breath over a 6-8+ hour period, the moisture level gets really high and creates an environment where mold can grow. So the way that I dealt with it is I bought some cleaner with bleach. Bleach kills mold, period. And I know that because I was an apartment developer for 20 years, and I had my own management company, and we knew how to deal with mold if we saw any indication of it, because that's a very important issue in places where people live. And through all my research and all my experience, I can tell you hands down, bleach kills mold. So just find a good bleach base cleaner if you need to clean any mold. And I went through and cleaned everything really thoroughly. I do want to mention that when you kill mold, there can still be stains there. So this is treated. The mold is dead. I know because I treated it real thoroughly. I looked closely at it. There's no more fuzziness to it. The mold is dead, but it stains. And so when you're treating mold, you should know that, because if you have a light area like this on a soft medium like foam or fabric, you may see leftover stains. But as long as you treat it real good and clean and killed the mold with that bleach, this is just the remnants of it as a stain. And so I want to make that as a note. Here's another area on the other side of that panel where I had some dark black mold also growing. And so what I did was not only bleach the areas, but then like something like this panel that had a fabric on it, I actually took the panel out and cleaned it really good, scrubbed it. This is actually sitting in a shower so that I could scrub it real good and rinse it. And then I set it outside in the hot sun. This was back during summer. And you can see the dramatic difference. This is completely clean now. So any part of your car is salvageable. If you get mold, you just need to, number one, kill it with a bleach-based cleaner, and then clean it up real good. And by the way, if you use a bleach-based cleaner, just be careful, because I sprayed this entire panel that you're looking at here with bleach, but I tested it first. I sprayed a little bit of that bleach cleaner on it, because as many of you may know, bleach also bleaches. It turns things white, so it can discolor your fabric. So find a test area, spray the bleach on it, let it dry, because when bleach discolors fabric, it's during the drying process, not when it first goes on. So you have to let it dry first to let it see if it's going to change the color. I did that, didn't have any effect on my fabric. I actually sprayed not only this panel, but the seats, all the fabric in my car with that bleach base cleaner, because my fabric's real dark and I wanted to make sure I treated any areas where mold may have started to grow. So just a helpful hint there. Then what I did is I bought this mold blocking primer. It's a spray paint that's formulated to help block mold from growing. It's not perfect. Mold can still grow where you treat it. But what I wanted to do, because the dark black mold is kind of the most dangerous typically, so what I wanted to do is go through the dark metal areas. My car is gray, so the metal area is underneath. Here's the back area where the storage is. And I also, underneath my back seat, the metal was dark gray, so it was hard to see if there was dark mold growing there. So what I did is I cleaned it really well and then sprayed it with that mold blocking primer. So number one, I could see more clearly if mold started to grow. And number two, trying to create a little more of a barrier. Here's another view of that back area. I got overspray. If you get overspray, I don't worry about it too much. I wouldn't worry about it. It oversprayed on the battery and some metal pieces, but who cares? It's underneath the back seat cover and you can't see any of this stuff. The main thing is just to treat it real well so you can see if there's mold that grows in the future, and you can just see where you cleaned. It's easier to see if this area is clean now because it's white than if it's dark colored metal. So I also did this underneath the back seat, which is metal, got it all cleaned really well, and then went through and sprayed it with that mold kind of blocking primer paint. And so the final thing I wanted to mention, because I like keeping these videos brief, is here's the other side of that panel that I showed you where the mold is growing on the fabric area. I also started realizing, I was taking my car apart, I'm like, man, my car is getting a little rough because it's over 10 years old and almost 200,000 miles, and all of this fabric was really getting frayed and looked pretty pathetic. So I started experimenting to see if there was a way I could treat this and kind of clean it up. And I figured out that I could use hair clippers. It might look like I'm bald, but I actually just cut my hair every single week to keep it simple so I don't have to go to a barber. So I shave my head once a week as a way I keep my hair, deal with my hair. And I started experimenting with this and found that it did a really good job. So just a simple pair of hair clippers can really clean up fabric when it's starting to fuzz up and fray on panels in your car. Let me show you before with all of this fuzzy stuff, and then after. So anyway, just a random tip if you want to try to get rid of that fraying fuzz on some of your panels if you have a Prius like mine. But anyway, I just wanted to do a quick video to tell you about some of the dangers you could have with mold in your car, especially if you sleep in it and that humidity gets real high. In the next video, we'll talk more about humidity, how I learned how to measure it, and ways that you can deal with trying to keep that humidity down so you don't have issues like mold. So thanks for watching the video.